Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Commissioner Rachel of the City of Chicago Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. As some quick housekeeping, we have Sadie with interpreter here. Esteban and Jen are providing Sadie with interpretation. We will be spelling them. We are also joined by Joe Gale of Real-Time Captioner. If you need any other accessibility, please let us know. I'm also going to provide a visual description. I'm a white woman with brown clothing here. In hazel eyes, I wear a cream dress with seashells on it, and I'm coming from my City Hall office. I'm so excited that we are presenting this training on how to serve people with disabilities in staying in hotels. And we know that with the DNC coming in, I think it's 11 days now, and we are gonna have 50,000 visitors to our city. And this session is meant to be provide ideas of ways that we can increase accessibility. I just want to make sure that everybody understands it is not to recommend us anyone Bridgewater Hub share ideas and everybody's learning about different ways to increase accessibility. So I want to thank a number of our partners. First, everybody here on my team at the Mayor's Office for People with Disability. You will be hearing from Christina McNeil, Deputy Commissioner, and Claire Stanhope, who's our training officer. We also have the partnership of Acting Commissioner Ivan Capibari from the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Commissioner Nancy Adrian from the Chicago Commission on Human Relations. We also have a number of other partners, including Voss from Choose Chicago, and I just want to thank Voss for her incredible work in our partnership and helping to make this training happen. We also have the Illinois Restaurant Association as one of our partners. And I am so excited that we are also partnering with the Illinois Hotel Athletic Association. Michael Jacobson, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We're delighted that you made the time when partnering with us. And then I also want to welcome Robert Jones, who is the Accessibility Advisor for the Democratic National Convention Committee, and we will partnering with Robert as well. So with that, I would love for Robert to come on screen and introduce herself.
Don't know if you're gonna pin me or. There we go. Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Commissioner Arfa, for the introduction. I'd like to say hello and welcome to everyone that is joined us today, and thank you for taking your time on this very important topic. I am the Accessibility Advisor for the host committee as well as the Democratic National Convention Committee. We have been working hard to ensure that those that are attending and visiting Chicago for the convention are going to have a positive experience, especially as it relates to their experience for accessibility. To that end, we have been working with a variety of different partners, including the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities and other city agencies. And I have attended several of the meetings and things with the hotels and have been in communication with hotels about accessibility, ensuring and looking forward to you serving our visitors with disabilities and ensuring that their experience here in Chicago is a positive one. We all know that when you come to a city, one of the first things that happens is you look to where am I staying, and that experience that I have from the time I arrive at your building to the check-in to my actual room will have an influence on how the rest of my time goes for whatever I'm there for. So we really appreciate your time here today to learn a little bit more, maybe refresh a little bit about how you can ensure that your guests with disabilities have a positive experience. Just as we have been working hard to make sure that the convention itself is accessible, but again, their experiences in your hotels are going to definitely be a layer of that success, or that how they feel about their experience here in Chicago. So thank you very much. And if there's anything I could ever do for you or any questions that you ever would have, please make sure you reach out to me, and I'll make sure that my email is in the chat area, but it's just rjones@demconvention.com. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Robert. We really appreciate that. I just wanted to see Michael Jacobson. I put you at the spot. I don't know if you wanted to say anything before we cut into the training, totally optional.
Yeah, no, I apologize for not being on video. I'm actually well, let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to see if I can get it on. Nope, I'm at the airport commuting home from a trip out of town, but just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time. I know it's an extremely busy time coming off of Lollapalooza, getting ready for the DNC, but I think this is a very important topic that so much has gone into security preparedness and rooming blocks, but this is a critical component over making sure that we are a welcoming city. And it kind of starts and ends in our hotels, where so many people are going to be resting their head at the end of very busy days. So appreciate everybody taking the time to participate in this training. And Commissioner, thank you to both you and Roz over at Choose Chicago for giving us the opportunity to participate.
Thank you so much, Michael. I know that has been very busy, so we really value you and your leadership, and it really takes all of us. So with that, we're going to dive in. So I'm going to have Claire and Christina come on camera, and we're also going to have experiences shared by people with disabilities. So I'm so excited about this presentation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina McLean. I'm a Deputy Commissioner at the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. I am a white woman with blonde hair, pulled up today. I'm wearing a dress, teal dress, and a necklace, and I am also at our City Hall location. Claire, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
No.
My name is Claire Stanhope, and I am the training officer at the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. I am a white woman with long blonde hair, and I'm wearing a navy shirt with polka dots today.
Thanks, Claire. All right, well, we'll get started. We just want to start by going over some of the goals of this training, and that's really just we hope that by the end of this training, you have a better understanding of what disability is and why it's so important, some tools, and learn more about accessibility, as well as how to serve guests that come to your hotels with disabilities. We really just want to also give you a quick background about MOPD. Our vision at the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities is to make Chicago the most inclusive and accessible city in the world. And we do this through a lot of our partnerships that we have within the city, as well as businesses and organizations outside of city departments. So we look forward to working with you in this goal to be the most inclusive and accessible city.
Thanks, Christina. This is Claire speaking. So we're going to dive right into talking about disability and accessibility in the context of hotels.
We got to get on that.
So to start off, we will give a definition of disability so that we are all having the same understanding about what we're talking about today. So disability is really anything that limits a person's ability to do certain activities or access their surrounding environment. And disability is not a bad word, so it's totally okay to talk about disability, and we encourage you to do so. Sometimes people will kind of dance around the subject of disability by using alternative words such as special needs or differently abled, but disability is totally okay to use, and we encourage you to do so. So, person with a disability, that's person first language. So putting the person before the identity, which would be disability. And that's best practice when talking about disability. Some people do prefer identity first, which would be disabled person. But if you're not sure how somebody identifies, then going with person first is best practice. When talking about disability, we also will encourage you to be really intentional about using the term accessible to replace the term handicap, which is an outdated and derogatory term. So when you're talking about the features in your hotels that are accessible, we encourage you to use the term accessible bathroom or accessible parking. There are so many different types of disabilities, and so we couldn't possibly cover them all in this training. And so we're going to walk you through the process of what somebody may experience in the hotel and how to make those experiences more accessible. And when we're talking about people with disabilities, some examples of what that may include may be someone who is blind or low vision, somebody who is deaf or hard of hearing, maybe someone who has a mobility disability and uses a mobility device such as a wheelchair or a walker or maybe a cane, someone who has a mental health condition, or somebody who is neurodiverse. And so when we're talking about neurodiversity, this is the idea that there is difference in how people may think, act, or behave. And so it includes people who have autism, people who have ADHD, or an intellectual, developmental, or cognitive disability. And that's not all inclusive, but just for some examples. And so we're going to be talking about lots of different types of disabilities today. And so just keeping those different types in mind. Disability is super common in the United States. So 27% of adults in the US, which is about 61 million people, report living with at least one disability. So that's about 1 in 4 individuals. And when thinking about the DNC, over 700 individuals visiting for the DNC have identified an accommodation need. So an accommodation is a change or a modification that's needed because of a disability. And so these are coming from our delegates, our donors, or members of the special interest groups that will be coming here. And 700 individuals coming to Chicago who have a disability is already a lot, but this is only accounting for the people who are attending the DNC. So it's not accounting for their family members that may be coming with them or other visitors who are going to be tourists because of a huge event happening in Chicago. So we are having 50,000 people in town for the DNC, which is really awesome. And this means that about 13,500 people with disabilities could be in the city. It's always important to remember that 20% of adults in the US report living with at least one invisible disability, which is a disability that is not obvious from looking at somebody. So it's really important to keep that in mind because as we're serving our guests and customers with disabilities, you could be serving somebody with a disability without knowing it at any time. So when it comes to travelers with disabilities, it's very likely that you will come in contact with a traveler with a disability because research shows that people with disabilities do travel. And in a 12-month time period, about 75% of people with mobility disabilities reported taking a trip. So a lot of people are traveling, and travelers with disabilities spent more on average than travelers without disabilities. So this could be for many reasons, but people with disabilities are traveling and they're coming as tourists and they're spending money in our city. So we want to make sure that we're accessible and welcoming to them. So I've used this term a few times talking about access and accessibility. And when we're talking about accessibility today in the context of hotels, it's really how guests are able to access your spaces and your services. And there are 3 different types of accessibility to consider. So the first would be digital, which would be access to things like your website or your social media. The second would be communication. And so this is being able to interact with your staff and access your services. And then the third would be physical. And so that's the physical space, being able to enter and exit your hotels and being able to interact with the environment around them. Accessibility is important for a lot of reasons. It is the law under the Americans with Disabilities Act, but it also benefits everybody, and it makes sure that the people who are coming to Chicago are able to access your services, your information, and your excellent hotels. And so a really good example of full access is a ramp. So if there is a ramp to enter rather than stairs, people who are using a mobility device like a wheelchair are able to enter, as are people who are walking, are travelers who are pulling suitcase behind them, parents who have a stroller. So when something's truly accessible, like a ramp, then everybody is able to use it regardless of how they encounter it. Now I will pass this back to, I believe, Commissioner Arfa.
Hi, everybody. Then could you please provide us? And then please provide Jen. And great. Thank you so much for that. So now we're gonna dive in and talk a little bit about disability access in hotels. Next slide, please. So the next thing to think about is before people even arrive, something that you could do, for example, now before the big event, check out the website and update the website with current information so that it can be accessed in a variety of ways for people with different types of disability. For example, people who are blind or low vision may use screen reader have print disabilities, which makes it difficult to access documents at PDM. So consider adding different types of formats. For example, a document in PDF and Word documents in HTML, and that way there are a variety of ways that people can access the information, whether it's about amenities that a hotel offers, or the specials at the restaurant at your hotel, or parking information, for example. And then this is also really helpful for people who are neurodiverse to be able to look on a website and be able to prepare themselves for what to expect, what kind of things can they find. And honestly, it helps all of us. I mean, I always like to look at a hotel to see if there's a swimming pool so that I know what to pack. And then as a deaf person, I really learned when hotels have different ways to communicate. I cannot hear at the phone, so I have never been able to just call down to the general number to ask for what I need. But I've had great experiences with hotels that do offer texting. I find that WhatsApp is a really nice option too. It's a pretty low cost way to provide another way to communicate back and forth with the front desk. And that this could be information provided during the check-in process, and that you can communicate back and forth with any changes or emergency information needed. And that brings me to my next point. Make sure to have different emergency plans available for people with disabilities. You can identify this now. For example, in Chicago, we do have a law that was passed in 1986 to require hotel rooms for people who are deaf or hard of hearing to have visual smoke alarms. And those plans should be made to communicate that to have the smoke alarm either be added to the room or already installed. And then I will also develop a plan for any other type of emergency needs where maybe you need to evacuate quickly. And then another point is the guest arrival process, so to be open to realizing people access to the exit room. For example, valley parking might not be an option for someone who has their own modified vehicle with hair control, or those who are fans with tall heights, it cannot park in the garage. So make sure to have a backup plan prepared with staff and check up with their staff what happened. What we do if this happens. There are some alternate spots where we could still make parking, valley parking available with a close by accessible spot. You just think through those what if scenarios. And then be prepared to help with luggage if needed. Sometimes people with different physical disabilities are not able to they may need assistance with the luggage. I will say do not touch someone who has a system device such as the wheelchair without permission. Is part of the wheelchair, part of the personal being, whether it's the wheelchair or their cane is part of that personal boundary space. So please respect that. And next line, I think that's clear. And Christina.
Yeah, hi, this is Christina speaking. I will go into a little bit about the check-in process. We know that this is another important process in your stay at a hotel. One thing that's really important and that goes a long way for people with different types of disabilities is to have the person at the front desk introduce themselves and share their role. This allows someone, especially someone who's blind or low vision, to be able to place that voice with the individual so they can help to recognize them going forward. It could be as simple as, hi, my name's Jane. I'm the concierge here at the hotel. How can I help you? There's also different ways to communicate with someone who is deaf or hard of hearing through this process, through a check-in process. And that could be something as simple as, asking that individual how they would like to communicate. So it could either be by writing notes on pen and paper, maybe using your phone app to communicate through your notes app. Some deaf individuals lip read. So it's possible if you are able to see their face that you, if you're able to show your face, that they would be able to lip read. I know Commissioner Arfa says it kind of depends on you could depend on someone's facial hair or if you're wearing a mask, because those are just things to think about. And it's, more difficult for someone to read your lips in those situations. Also, individuals may communicate through American Sign Language. Writing down important information is also really helpful to individuals who are deaf, but also individuals with other types of disabilities. So important things like your room number, what time breakfast is, things like that are just important for the individual to know. It'd be really good and helpful if those things can be written down. And then you might need to read some things out loud. And that can just be the bill possibly, or helping someone sign something. But there's a lot of different phases throughout the check-in process. And I think what the most important thing to remember is just to ask someone, how they would like to be assisted. And people with disabilities are, very used to these situations and can communicate with you how they need help. Next slide. These are some things to think about in terms of physical access for the check-in process. In a lot of cases, hotels do have a lower counter space for check-in. Those should definitely be used in situations where someone comes in with a mobility device, so you are able to better assist that individual. We know that the ADA rooms or physical rooms, we've learned that, those have been blocked off and reserved for people with physical disabilities, and it's important to ensure that those rooms go to the people who actually need them. Another thing to just be aware of is that it's good to be able to be able to troubleshoot and maybe think quick on your feet, because you might have to do some problem solving. If an individual may request things such as a stool to help them get on to the bed if they are short in stature, or use a mobility device, and even requests such as removing box springs could be helpful to someone with a physical disability. And then just really being aware of where the room is located. They may ask for the room to be a little closer to the elevator to just be more convenient if using a mobility device. There's some help that could be given to someone who is blind. If you are checking in, things like wayfinding, helping someone to know where different areas of the hotel are is really valuable. And just ensuring that you are verbal or in how you describe things, and maybe even help someone to show them where their room is, could be really helpful. Individuals who are traveling with service animals also will come prepared to take care of those animals, but it could be a good practice to have planned out some suggested areas for individuals who have service animals to relieve the dog, and they are responsible then for picking up after the dog. Service animals are trained to go on concrete, but it might be helpful just to, be aware of some local parks or nearby parks that you can point these individuals to as well. With that, I'm going to go into a little bit more about service animals, because we often get a lot of questions about them. So service animals are recognized by the Americans with Disabilities Act. Individuals who use service animals are known as handlers, and they help an individual with a disability with a particular task. If there's ever any questions about if an animal is a service animal, the Department of Justice allows 2 questions for you to ask. And that is the animal service animal required due to a disability, and what task is the dog trained to perform? So there's only dogs and miniature horses that are recognized as service animals by the ADA. We have yet to see a miniature horse, but we really want to see one. So if you do get a miniature horse service animal into your hotel, please let us know. But I think that is very rare. It's important that when you do see individuals or handlers with their service animals, that you don't distract or touch the animal. The animal is working, and it could be dangerous to the individual with a disability if you distract the dog. Service animals are different than emotional support animals, as they don't perform a specific task due to a disability. These service animals don't necessarily have to have a harness, and you're not required to have an ID for service animals. So those are just some important things to really take into consideration. You can ask that a service animal leave the property only if that service animal is out of control of the handler. And that could be things like if it's aggressive, or if it's barking more than once in a quiet space. This is very rare. These dogs are trained, have a lot of training. And one thing we do recommend that is, if you do, ask a service animal to leave, that you do follow up with some kind of removal process that's kind of similar to how you would ask someone who's being disruptive to leave, so it's documented. But it is important to call out that if you ask someone to leave with their service animal, you're only asking that the service animal leave. That individual is allowed to come back and obtain the service without their service animal. So yeah, those are just some things about service animals. We'll talk a little bit more about lived experiences with service animals at hotels towards the end. And now I'll turn this over to Claire.
Thanks, Christina. This is Claire. So after your guests are checked in, there are some things that may be requested of you that are just good to be aware of. And one of those things may be when it comes to room cleaning. So cleaning staff may not always have a list of individuals who have disabilities. We hope they don't. But an individual guest would maybe make a special request for room cleaning, such as leaving items where they are on bathroom counters or dressers for cleaning.
Oh, I think I'm okay.
Some people who are blind or low vision may intentionally lay out their things so that they're able to find them again. And if cleaning staff are doing a very thorough job, which is great, but if they do a very thorough job and they pick things up, they may switch some items around, and somebody may end up with some minty toothpaste hair gel. So just being conscious of that. Some people who are using a handheld shower may keep it in the down position as an intentional thing so that they're better able to access it. And so somebody may request that you leave it in that position when cleaning their bathroom. And lastly, somebody may come in and ask for you to help them adjust their shades and curtains, or to leave the shades and curtains the way they are set when you're in their room cleaning, because they may not be able to independently adjust those. So just be mindful that that may be a request that you receive. Likely your hotels have either a restaurant or room service, and upon request, guests may ask your restaurant or wait staff to help with reading menus aloud if it's not available in a virtual format, or to describe food items if there is a buffet line, maybe like a breakfast buffet. It's also possible that with a buffet, guests may ask for you to get the items for them or to assist them through the buffet line. This could be because somebody is blind or low vision, they're not able to see what food is laid out, or it could be somebody who's using a mobility device and isn't able to use both the mobility device and carry their plate at the same time. And when room service is delivered, a guest may ask for additional assistance. So they might need support in opening packages, or maybe make a request for you to help them in obtaining ice. So just being really mindful that there may be some special requests that come in. And as prepared as you can be, there may still be some problems that come up. So we know that travel can be stressful and customers can become upset. So just be mindful that just because a customer is upset, we can't make assumptions about someone's mental health. If someone is maybe upset, just being really direct and using I statements to address a concern. So those are statements that start with the term I. So I hear that you're upset now. I'm going to fix the problem with your room. And if you do have somebody who is experiencing a mental health crisis in your hotel, NAMI is a great resource. They have a 24-hour hotline. It is 988, and you are able to call them, text them, or chat them for assistance with mental health. So they're a great resource for you and your hotel staff to use if you do need consultation. So now we're going to hear from several individuals on their lived experiences in hotels, and I'm going to pass it over to Christina McLean.
Hi, everybody. It's Christina again. I am excited to get to talk to you about some of the experiences I've had at hotels as someone who is legally blind and also a service animal user. I've had a variety of different experiences through check-in. Some that are really great, just some that are just know that I might need some assistance to finding my room. Or telling me where different important features are within the hotel, such as elevators or restaurants. If I've been in a hotel for a conference, they've been able to walk me to where some of the important meetings were happening, or where the sessions are that I would be spending a lot of time in. I've had really good experiences in these situations too, where hotel staff have asked if I need assistance at the end of my stay to ensure that I collected all my things from the room. I think we all know that it's very possible for things to get kicked under the bed or left accidentally in a hotel space. And they were really kind and offered to ensure that I collected all my things. Because I feel like if things can fall under a bed, it's so dark that you can't find them. So I thought that was really neat, and a really good experience. And something that I think is recommended. I know that it might not be something that everyone has time for, but if it's requested, it is something and very helpful to an individual with low vision. In terms of service animals, because I'm also a service animal handler, I've had really good experiences where hotel staff have directed me to where I could relieve the dog. That's always, one of those things that's challenging for someone who uses a service animal. They're in a space that they might not be super familiar with. It could be dark or late at night when you have to go out. So ensuring that you have a suggested place that is safe and convenient as possible for an individual to take care of their dog is really helpful and beneficial to someone in their stay. So thank you.
Thanks, Christina. We will now hear from Nathaniel Kelly on his experience.
Can someone spotlight Nathaniel, please? Thank you. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Nathaniel Kelly, and I'll give a visual description. I'm a brown-skinned man with a bald head and a beard, and I'm wearing a white shirt. I am the project coordinator for the SUPT program, which is the Substance Use and Prevention Program for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing students that are school-aged. And I want to thank Commissioner Arfa for mentioning some of the points regarding the WhatsApp. I think that my experience as a deaf person, one of the barriers is that not having access to emergency situations that happen and having to evacuate because I can't use the phone. So having that texting system for deaf and hard of hearing individuals would be good. The second experience I can think about, a common experience, it would be nice if, this is related to the room charges, giving a clear walkthrough, because some hotels have different policies and the front desk doesn't always communicate and give you a walkthrough of all the specific nuanced information, such as the room deposit, things of that nature. So I think it's important to give a walkthrough, a clear explanation of that. The third experience, lastly, is as far as with breakfast. One of the experiences I've had is that I often miss that information regarding to meals, so I just want to put emphasis on that if there can be written communication for all of the food services that are provided. So I think those are all the tips. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Leah Rich is now going to tell us a little bit about her experience in the hotel.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Aaliyah Rich. I am the content developer. Wait, before I even say anything, My visual description is that I'm a long African American woman. I have long black hair and I have brown eyes, and I'm in my home office for today. But for my job is that I am the developer and project manager of InfiniTeach. And I am part of InfiniTeach's job is just to create resources and provide uh, um, training for people, especially like organizations and well as like businesses about autism and just bringing more autism awareness and safety. Uh, about my experiences with hotels is that I love to travel. I love experiencing different parts of the United States as well internationally. That many things that I love about it, but there's also overwhelming things about it, especially if you're traveling alone or traveling with somebody. And one of my many suggestions that I only have is that advance notice and well as requests, and especially if someone who's with autism not very familiar with new environments is just exploring the hotel the very first time, it'd be helpful for like advance notices because my job is all about bringing advance notices to museums and well as health services. The same can be used as for hotels, especially if they're traveling with a guest, if they can be closer to the guest instead of a random room with another stranger, or having some requests of like bringing sensory headphones if they forgot to bring any. Uh, but also for any other recommendation that can be very useful is just sensory friendly uh, objects that can be used or requested for any needs, especially if someone who with autism may struggle to be in a new environment or have sensory needs, so they may need a quiet room or quiet space that can be recommended. If like families are traveling with each other, maybe recommend more sensory friendly places they can visit or even have a space to themselves that is a lot quieter, but also like maybe have some more ideas of just like making the guests feel welcome, maybe a sensory friendly basket of gifts of like sensory headphone toys or accessory or calming essential oils just to feel more comfortable, and just having a way to feel more welcome for people with autism because every person with autism is different, and a lot of times it's a very invisible disability, so you may not notice that one with autism is very nervous of being in a hotel their very first time. So it's just be aware, especially if they ask questions, they may feel nervous of asking these questions. Is it okay? I have this with me in this space. So just being more overwhelmed, being more honest and just being inclusive is most important.
Thank you, Aaliyah. That was really valuable to hear your perspective on that.
Thank you.
Next, we'll be joined by Dr. Grishma Shah.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Okay, so my visual description, I'm an Indian woman with curly brown hair and brown skin. I'm wearing a gray dress, and behind me is a white wall with paintings that I've created. So I very much value my disability identity. It's taught me a lot about human behavior and the field of belonging, which is what I specialize in as a psychologist, along with being a professional artist. So one of the things I love to do is I love to travel. I consider myself a world traveler, and I usually stay in hotels. So the hotel chains that I keep going back to are the places that are very mindful about language and about belonging. So it's not a disability coming in. I'm a person with multiple identities, and disability is one of those identities. So I encourage you all to do this activity, maybe later, maybe now. Draft an email without having your prescription glasses or contacts on, and you may quickly understand that disability is part of your human experience and that you require certain access points to fully participate, like I do. A pro tip is that when you're doing staff training, incorporate the social model of disability rather than the medical model. We learned a few words to use a little earlier. My go-to is use neutral words like diagnosis or condition instead of dysfunction, disorder, impairment, disease, because these kinds of words suggest that the human experience of disability is negative. Replace confined to wheelchair with wheelchair user, because despite what storytelling suggests, the disability experience is not negative. Like you, disabled people enjoy living their best lives, and that means traveling and staying in hotels. I'm proof of that, along with the 1+ billion people worldwide. If you'd like to reach out to me, my email is grishma@lagrish.com. I'll also share some details as well in the chat. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Shaw. And now I'm going to pass it over to Commissioner Arfa to close us out.
Thank you so much, everyone. This is Commissioner Arfa speaking. I really want to thank our additional presenters for sharing their experiences and tips. So thank you to Elia, Nithya, Dr. Krishna Shah, Christina. And I just want to sort of echo a point that Dr. Krishna Shah said, that disabled people enjoy living their best lives. And to me, I think that is a great way to frame it, how do we help people have the best trip, how do we, what steps can we take? And I hope that one takeaway from today has been that it is about it is in customer service, having strong customer service is a way to help me to increase disability access that very much connected. So I also wanted to share another visual as a fellow city deployment run by Commissioner Nancy Antoine, the Chicago Commission on Human Relations. Their job is to influence the Chicago human rights ordinance, but I also want to share that they also provide mediation and they help to work with the parties at resolving any access barriers. There's information up there, be like, next slide, please. So some key takeaways. Number one, to be open-minded, disability, very definition and visibility. I mean, you've heard from a number of people with disabilities today. It does not make any of us an expert. It just means we've heard from these experiences, but the next group of people they mean will have different experience. Number two is to prioritize accessibilities for everyone, not just people with disabilities. And when we travel, I travel with my friends and my family. I'm not always traveling by myself, so we are here to have fun. And then we allow others to share. I dislike when people assume that they need help. So it's really nice if you ask, do you need help? Is there anything I can help you with? And I can let you know, but also in close respect, but the answer maybe no, and everybody has a different perspective. Some people want help others, but rather not. Just like when you travel, some people like to follow maps and other people like to just walk out of the hotel and see what is out there beyond the hotel doors. People with disabilities have each of our own approaches to. With that, I would love for you to keep in touch with us. There are so many ways that we could work together beyond just today. First, just like today, we provide disability training. Feel free to reach out if there's a training you would like to have for your organization. We also have a career center here in MOPD that we launched 2 years ago to help job seekers with disabilities get jobs. And then we also partner with employers. So if you are an employer, we would love to partner with you to help match job seekers with disabilities with any available openings. And then we also have an accessibility compliance unit made up of our contacts, and we're happy to provide technical assistance and share information about different architectural requirements in bridge to a multiple solution. I just want to highlight we are here to work with you and to support you. And we've added a phone number in place for us and social media. And I also want to note that Dr. Krishma Shah and the others have added their email addresses here. So I don't know if you want to reading up there, could read out the contact information too, and I'll turn it back over to you to wrap up the questions. But thank you everybody for being here. We appreciate the partnership and we're here to support all of us.
Thank you, Commissioner.